Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Wellness Hour. And I'm going to wait for 1 minute before we start talking about our topic today. Okay? So, again, hello, everyone. Welcome to our Wellness Hour today. My name is May Alfartusi, and I'm a student counselor at ATTH Niagara Center. And the topic for today is entitled Stress as a Guest. And I would like to start a little bit telling you about myself and why I was really first thinking about what's this topic in wellness that can align with everyone. And my background is more in academia. I spent over 15 years doing research and teaching and collecting stories on how people navigate difficulties and hardships within different social worlds. And it's really very interesting that on a personal professional levels I experienced the stress in different levels. So I found that this is really very interesting topic, and if we can both today try to navigate how we think of stress rather than the content. What is stress? What are the types of stress? And this is really the first thing that I would like to say is to forgive me for my shortcoming in with technology. The first stress I can say is now being on Facebook Live. I'm not familiar with social media. I'm more in the academic setting, and now I just try to look at from the first morning when I presented my gratitude session today, trying to understand where can I see your chat, when I can see the chat box now. When I try to leave the page, then I'm going to end the Facebook Live. So I'm trying my best, and I appreciate your patience with me. So for today, when we talk about stress, um, this topic is really very interesting for many of us because we cannot deny that we all go through different stages where we have to navigate many things at once. And sometimes we are different on how we approach things. So when we look at stress, I invite you today to look at stress, how we perceive stress. And when we are talking about this, I would like to refer to go inside yourself and sense your attitude towards stress. And this is something really very important on how you manage your stress. And for example, with me, I remember I finished my master degree, my PhD, my postdoc with having 4 kids. And the journey was really not easy at all. And when sometimes, like in my university setting, I remember when they used to invite me to talk to graduate students, how I was able to do this with a short time and navigating all these hardships. I used to say I give priority. I can go with giving some priorities, and I go a lot with technical tips. But honestly, when I was doing my postdoc, and this is something that I would like to share with you, there were moments where I had to travel across different cities, and I collected stories, and some of these stories were very, very hard and heartbreaking, like breaking for me. Watching mothers struggling, kids struggling, and I then found myself suddenly deciding to have my pause moment and just stop everything and trying to go to with my little kids to the park and try to understand and just watch the kids playing and enjoying their time And for me, this was my pause moment. And I remember at that time, even the lovely lady working with me in University of Ottawa emailing me, May, where are you? What's going on? And I decided to have this break and to relax and to think of what really helped me all these years. And I found that the more I try to look at stress in a friendly way, the more I try to perceive stress as a friend, as a guest, the more I can able to see things and be easy on myself. And this is something that really helped me later in my journey, and even now when I decided to go with counseling skills and learning about counseling psychology and working with clients in my workplace, or now later in my practicum at the ATTCH center. It's really very helpful for us to think, how can we make stress our friend? And I really want to acknowledge the work of McGonigal, and I'm going to type this reference for you if you are interested to watch her talk about how to make stress our friends. So if you allow me to share a very short script that when she talked about how can we shift our perception of stress. And this really hit me deeply as a person who's always living with stress, and where there's no sometimes even opportunity to have a break. So let me read for you this short script, and I look forward to your insight about it. Okay, thank you. Yes, I found someone writing on in the chat box. Echo, thank you so much for your idea about our attitude towards stress. Yes, this is really very interesting topic that can help all of us to think about when we plan for managing our stress. Thank you for your comment. So the script starts with, but there's what most people don't understand about oxytocin. Pardon me for pronouncing this stress hormone. It is a stress hormone. Your gland pumps this stuff out as part of the stress response. It's much a part of your stress response as the adrenaline that makes your heart races. And when oxytocin is released in the stress response, it's motivating you to seek support. Interesting. Your biological stress response is nudging you to tell someone how you feel instead of bottling it up. Your stress response wants to make sure you notice when someone else in your life is struggling so that you can support each other. When life is difficult, your stress response wants you to be surrounded by people who care about you. Stress gives you access to our hearts. The compassionate heart that finds joy and meaning in connecting with others. And yes, your physical heart working so hard to give you strength and energy. And when you choose to view stress in this way, you are not just getting better at stress, you are actually making a pretty profound statement. You are saying that you can trust yourself to handle life's challenges, and you are remembering that you don't have to face them alone. I'm grateful for this lady and for the way how she articulated how we can have this positive attitude towards stress. So some of them, what do you think of it? If you would like to share your reflection on this script. Like for me, this really helped me a lot and really confirmed my personal experience with stress and how it's really true. The more we think of stress as a friend and we try to appreciate that when we are in stress, we like to be connected and we like to go with any support system to help us out. And sometimes we act as this support system for others. So this is a kind of really very helpful in how we navigate the meaning of stress. So, what do you think of stress for you? Do you like this positive attitude towards stress? Can you say yes or no? Okay. So, some of the main helpful points when we think of positive stress, it's maybe I'm going to focus on 2 points. And these points, they are not just coming from me, they are, um, oh yes, I would like to try. Thank you. Yes, we always try. Mhm. This is also a very interesting question. How we could how we could boost oxytocin, and this is really very I can say that I'm not a neurologist, I'm not in the area of medical, but I can share with you that there are some ways where we can help us to look at the way how we look at stress is really very helpful in trying to understand and gives us a kind of hope that we can manage stress. So if I try, for example, when going through a lot of issues in my life, and I try to think that this is normalizing, when I try to normalize this process and trying to validate my feelings that it's okay for me to go through all these things at certain time in my life. And I really like Lori's one of the techniques that she shares with us during training: name it, not notice it, name it, and let it go. So, and this is something very easy. There are maybe sometimes simple techniques that you may do them naturally from experiences, and sometimes you may try to normalize the process. And when you try to normalize this process of how you look at stress, then you feel that you can manage it other than being overwhelmed. So it's also how we allow ourselves to be in a space where we can validate our feelings and where we can think more that give us this opportunity to open new doors of staying positive. I hope I hope my simple response is helpful for you. So there are two main points, and they are not coming from me, they are from research, saying that when we have this stress hormone, we feel we need to connect to others. This is really an opportunity to connect with others where we do not feel we are alone. And sometimes when we play this role where when we connect to others, we also like to support others. This is also give us a kind of having a purpose in life, having a vision, and help us to stay more focused. Like for example, when you feel that you want your friend is coming to you and your friend is going through a lot of stress and is seeking help, and you find yourself trying to help your friend out with navigating some problems, you are going to see that you are having a role, a positive role in your friend's life. You are giving. And the more you give, the more you feel you are contributing and you feel there is a reason for you to exist. There's an important purpose for you for this existence. And this really, from many research working on understanding happiness, understanding hope, and this is what even McGonigal, when she tried to transfer this idea of how can we make stress a friend in educational setting, she tried to educate teachers how to promote such concept with students, and she encouraged to look at how when we teach our students, for example, as teachers, and thinking more and more about the role of giving, this task of just giving to others, how this will really resolve the unhelpful feeling inside us, for us, and at the same time for the others, and will direct us in a way where we can think more positively of our role, and this will really give us energy and motivation. So this is something very interesting, how we can even apply this concept of stress as a friend or as a guest in different setting, in educational setting, whether sometimes in clinical setting, and sometimes even as parents when we are going through a lot of issues with our kids, and sometimes on a personal level when you are working or you are trying to handle many things. And this is where we talk about healthy stress and toxic stress. Regard, it's true that there are two different ones. With the healthy stress, you do experience some tensions, but at the same time, there is a kind of motivation because this is trying to learn new concepts. It's a kind of learning things. But with toxic stress, this is something different that can affect the brain, and in a way that may really influence even your cognitive abilities, your emotions, and there are issues that will be stuck in your brain. And this is something that is totally different and needs clinical help, or sometimes needs also more therapeutic techniques to help out. But generally speaking, when we try to look at stress as a friend, this is really very helpful to try to invite ourselves. And I found it really very helpful with one of the things that I learned, that sometimes when we want to do something, we are not easy with ourselves. We are not kind with ourselves. We try to push ourselves. And rather than trying to, even this positive language on this self-positive talk, when you talk to yourself about how can I see stress as a friend, if you have this language of I want to, then it's like you are imposing. And this is something that I learned just last week, that it's really very important to live in this culture of inviting, exploring, because when you have this exploring tendency, this will help you also to feel that you have choices, and you will feel more motivated because there will be a kind of curiosity to dig deeply inside yourself and ask yourself that can I invite myself to stay positive on how I look at stress? Is there any opportunity or any activity where I can support someone, or I can seek someone who can listen to me and help me? So these simple questions sometimes also help us explore how we develop this positive attitude with stress. So let's see in the light, how we can see light in our stress, and and as I mentioned earlier about the pause moment, about stop, slow down, and try to think and sense and experience this pause moment. This is something that's sometimes not easy for us when we are in the mid of doing many things. But at the same time, the more sometimes your body can tell you you need to stop, where you feel headache, you feel numbness, you feel pain in your joints, or when you feel really very dizzy. And this may be due to the stress, and sometimes your body is inviting you to go and have a break. So it's somehow very interesting to think of this stop moment. And like I noticed that sometimes when I'm in a mid of doing many things, I try to go with this breathing technique while I'm in the middle of everything, where I just stop and I try to, wherever I am, wherever I go, in my workplace, or whether with the kids, whether in the kitchen, whether doing many things, I try to have this pause moment. And I found this is really very helpful, because it's like, take me out of where I am and let me relax, let me notice my body, and what my body really needs. And in this moment, the more I practice this, the more I felt more energetic when I go back to the present, and I try to complete the task that I have to do. So it's really sometimes small things that you can do, but it's also important to have this willingness to do them. And part of this is to give this commitment, is to feel how it's really important sometimes to have this break and to have this pause moment, in order to be able to look at the things and the multiple things that may trigger your stress in a more positive way. So let's try to experience the space between stimulus and response through this simple stop practice. And this is developed by Alicia Goldstein, and I would like to acknowledge this work. And please, if you maybe after this presentation, if you try to look at the chat box, you are going to see all the links to the articles, and even to this script that can help us understand, or sometimes just to apply simply the stop moment. And sometimes we already, I know that we did a lot of meditation practices throughout this group, and sometimes it's just different on how everyone can feel comfortable with, and to pick or to choose the pause moment or the way that aligns and resonates with yourself. So this stop practice for stress is very easy one, and it really starts with this acronym STOP, STOP. This is just as a reminder where you can follow these steps or this simple procedure when you want to have your pause moment. So if you can sit and relax and try to stop what you are doing right now, get in a comfortable position, either seated or lying down. Yes, I'm going to write your name. Yes. So as I gently invite you to stop what you are doing right now, as I'm going to stop now typing or doing anything, and I would like to also have my pause moment with you. Get in a comfortable position, either seated or lying down. T, take. Take a few deep breaths, maybe in through the nose initially, and then out through the mouth. With each exhalation, allow your body to soften a bit more. Be easy on your body. As long as you are here with the breath right now, allow your body to settle into its natural rhythm of breathing. Breathe in and sense the breath coming in. Breathe out and sense the breath going out. Again, breathe in and sense the breath coming in through your nose, and breathe out and sense the rhythm of the breathing through your mouth. Oh, observe. Begin to observe your body, noticing if there is any tension or tightness anywhere, including the face. I have it now in my shoulder. If you do notice any of that, allow it to soften, or just mindfully adjust your body as it feels like it needs to. Be aware of how you are feeling emotionally right now. If there is a sense of calm, maybe some maybe some restlessness or irritation, or maybe even sadness. Or you could be feeling neutral. Wherever there is, see if you can be aware of it. Notice how it feels physically in the body. Maybe a chest tense, maybe muscles tense, maybe a kind of numbness. Continue to observe yourself physically and emotionally in this moment. just letting things be. Be aware of and observe your mind right now, noticing if it seems distracted or cluttered, or it seems like it's settling into being here. Either way, it's okay. The O of observe is just to allow us to be aware of our experience in the moment, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Just being aware, just noticing. The moment we notice that our mind is off is a moment we are present. Settle in. Be aware of the fullness of your experience, physically, emotionally, and mentally, and just let be. P. Proceed. Proceed is just dropping the question of what's most important for me to pay attention for right now? Or what am I needing right now? Allow whatever answer is there to simply percolate and arise. Proceed with that in this next moment. Always remember to acknowledge yourself for taking this time. This is a great act of self-care. Take the final moment to acknowledge yourself for taking this time. Like for me, I need now to have a nap. I need to relax as I can feel the tense in my body. So I'm trying to relax on my chair. I hope you are also can answer this question. What do you need right now? So sometimes this is just a kind of simple practice where we can try to speak to our body and try to notice and allow all these feelings and the emotions to come. When we let them, we acknowledge them, and then we try to think of what do we need to do. It's just simple question, and this is where you try to stop from thinking of all these tasks and having a break where you try to notice the needs of your body and trying to relax a little bit. And it's like trying to equip your body again with a little bit of energy if you are going through a lot of tasks at the same time. So sometimes people they have different ways of how to have this pause moment, and as I shared with you, um, sometimes with breathing, if you are in the mid of work, you cannot leave your work, or you are, for example, busy in something, you can even if you are in this moment in your office or where you are, and you cannot leave and change your setting to relax, you can have this breathing moment where it's like the ocean breathing, where you can inhale from your nose, feel the breathing, and exhale from your mouth, and you notice the breathing. It's focusing on something concrete like the breathing. So rather than trying to go with a lot of overthinking with the things that you have to finish. And sometimes when you try to do this, it's very okay to have these feelings that will be popping inside you, like the sadness, the worries, a lot of things, and trying to normalize them, noticing them, label them, and let them go, and try to observe more your body needs. Where do you see where do you see this tense going in your body, and how do you see these feelings affect your body? and asking yourself, what do I need at this time? Maybe drinking water, maybe sitting, maybe laying down, maybe listening to music. So these simple things that they can really help a lot of trying to take care of our body when we are in the mid of many things. And this is something that we try to do and we learn to acknowledge, but it really needs maybe a kind of practice. Sometimes, like I remember when I tried to do this in the beginning, it was really hard for me to take this break. But then my body started to remind me when I started to have the headache, the numbness, the tense, and I couldn't tolerate all these things. And I remembered I consulted my family doctor, and she said to me that, May, you need to stop. She said, stop, just stop. She didn't give me any medication for these issues. She said, just stop. And I was thinking that, how can I stop? What should I do? She said to me, travel far away, take a break. And oh, how can I leave my family? How can I leave my work? All these things. She said, you need this break. So sometimes some people they can have this break by changing the setting, but sometimes you cannot because you are responsible. You are taking care of and you have a lot of responsibilities. So trying, for example, with this simple technique of breathing or with this simple activity, you may feel that you are also appreciating your body and you are noticing that, yes, I'm in the middle of it and I want to relax a little bit. And with some people who really have this positive attitude of stress, they can also try to practice more and more how to befriend this stress. And so sometimes you may go to reading articles, you go to join some groups where you can learn about how to make stress your friend. And sometimes you can explore this on your own way. Like, for example, for me, I realized that with all the tasks and the stress that I experienced, there was a level of excitement. And I always find that the more I remind myself with the level of excitement with challenges, the more I feel more motivated to keep on moving forward and enjoy this level of excitement. So it's really different from one person to another. And sometimes you feel that you are overwhelmed, and it's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay to validate these feelings because we cannot assume that we can easily be positive on how we look at stress. It's really not easy, and it's different from one person to another. Sometimes you go through this experience and you find yourself in the mid of many things and you feel very overwhelmed, you do not know what to do, and then by nature sometimes you explore something very simple that you can feel really relaxed and you befriend this guest that is always knocking on your door and trying to visit you. So it's really a kind of sharing our thoughts and telling stories. And sometimes when we hear the stories of many people and how they try to befriend stress, we can really add their experiences to our experiences, and we try to select what we really need. And this is where I talked about asking yourself this question: what does your body need? What do you need? You are the best one who can answer this question. So I hope that our wellness hour today that invited you to befriend stress and to look at stress in a positive way, and how there are simple techniques like this example, the simple meditation that we did together, or the breathing, simple breathing techniques that you can do if you are in the mid of many things. I hope that sharing and talking about this topic by exploring the positive attitude of stress can help us move forward when we think of how we manage our stress. Thank you so much for your time today to be with me and to let me feel how I'm connected and I'm not alone in this process. And I wish you the best during this lovely day. And yes, hello again, Caroline. It's nice to see you again. Thank you so much. So if you have now any question, we are and we I ended like sharing with you the main points related to how we can befriend stress. But if you have any question now in the chat box, please feel free to ask. I will be waiting for you, and I look forward to this learning journey with you about wellness. And it's really each time we learn something. With each moment, it's a blessing where we can stand up, we can pause, and we can learn something. So I'm going to wait and see if anyone would like to ask any question. Okay? So let me share with you some of the references that I just mentioned. Okay. Thank you, Eiko, for your presence and for your sharing your feeling. Yes, your question is really very important. Sometimes when we feel unmotivated to do anything, um, it's really, and this is where I really encouraged everyone, including myself, to think of asking yourself, what does your body need? You don't have to go with um, going through, how can I say, with steps for mindfulness. It's just the idea of mindfulness by itself is how to let yourself stop and just pause from thinking of anything and relax. So whatever you feel comfortable with doing and it aligns with you, you can start and you can think. So when, for example, you feel unmotivated, maybe with um, changing the setting, maybe with breathing. It's not necessary to go with step one, step two, step three. Sometimes maybe if you have any practice that you are used to do and you like to do this activity, maybe you can try this activity and just anything where you feel you can stop for a moment. Like as I shared with you, when I was really in the mid of many things and I was so stressed out, I just found myself going to the park and just looking at the kids playing and enjoying how these kids, they do not know each other and they were just playing together, taking things easy and looking at the trees, enjoying this. So it's just something simple, anything simple that can let you feel relaxed. It's not necessary to be where you can go through a script and you can read a script or you have to follow all these protocols for mindfulness. And again, I'm not an expert in mindfulness. I'm sharing with you my insight and my experiences with going with, how can I say, with a lot of stress. So stress is really my close friend, I can say. So I hope this, my answer and sharing my experience helped you a little bit to take it in an easy way and simplify it, like anything that you feel comfortable with. Going outside in the backyard, just standing and listening to the birds twittering, any moment where you feel you can just stop and not think of anything. So, and giving yourself this moment of relaxing. So I put some references here for anyone who is interested to listen to McGonigal. I found really her way of how she articulated this topic is very helpful for anyone who is interested to understand how to be friend. Yes, Caroline. Okay, we just spoke about, and this is a wellness hour, and we talked about how to make stress our friends. And it's a kind of, it's a metaphor, but we try to talk a little bit about how developing positive attitude towards stress can really be helpful in managing the emotional and the physical tensions that we may experience when we encounter stress. And here are some of the references that I mentioned in this when I talked about this topic. McGonigal is one of those scholars who really shared her insights from research perspective and talking about how sometimes when you try to think that the stress hormone that we have in our body is really sometimes helpful to to urge you to feel that you need to be connected with other people for support. And sometimes when you think in this way, where this hormone is inviting you not to be alone and to invite other people to help you out, this kind of social connection, social support is really very helpful because this will open a door for not just seeking help, but also sometimes giving you an opportunity also to think of how can you help others. And when we look at research from research perspective, that when we have this giving quality, the more you give, the more you feel you have a role and responsibility, the more the unhelpful feelings related to stress will be minimized. And this is not from me, this is from the research. So I found that sharing this lady's talk is really very helpful on navigating and help us figure out some of the points related to the positive attitude related to stress. I hope this is helpful, Carolyn. And thank you for joining us. Yes, Yoka, okay, okay. Thank you for your question about how can we help ourselves with negative thoughts and repetitive negative thoughts? This is very important questions. Sometimes maybe it's overthinking. So I'm not sure whether you are talking about overthinking when you want to think of overthinking and how it affects and increases the stress. This is really that is also an important topic. How can we stop overthinking? And sometimes within within the wellness perspective, I'm not talking about the clinical perspective, because if I go and talk about the clinical perspective, then maybe we need to talk about CBT, about different therapy models that can help us modifying our thoughts, and sometimes trying to go maybe with them four factor models where you try to identify the specific situation, the feelings, the emotions, or the thoughts related to the specific situation, and then you try to modify and going with some techniques that can help you modify your thoughts, and at the same time thinking of some pleasant activities, or maybe going with certain goals that you can follow. It's more with going with the therapeutic approach. But when we talk from wellness approach and overthinking, and this is really something very helpful to go with some relaxation technique, that like what we just talked about today, it's how you stop, how to learn how to stop thinking, to stop this process of going from one idea to another idea to another idea. It's how you uh, become aware, like you become aware, you notice it, you name it. Like for example, if you are thinking here and there, you name it. What is this going now? Worries, fear. So, and then you validate it. You said it's okay. I have these worries, I have this fear, I have this, and then you let them go. You try to let them go by focusing on something concrete, like your breathing, like for example, looking at something that can distract you. So it's a kind of relaxation, thinking of any relaxation technique. And this is what we usually do when we think of the pause moment. We try to, as we talk today about this top activity, we try to become aware of these feelings or these thoughts that you just mentioned, the feelings related to these thoughts. You label them and then you notice them and you let them go. And you let them go by trying to focus on the breathing. If the breathing is something that you feel you can, like for example, I can notice here in my nostril in this area, if I focus on the process of the air entering, and at the same time, this sound also helped me to attract my attention to something concrete. So, and I stop a little bit, let them go and focus more on this. And in this process, I feel a little bit relaxed. So it's just trying to have this break. Um, and sometimes some people they like to have this by looking at the tree. Sometimes, but usually the breathing is really very helpful. And in order to feel relaxed. Thank you, Carolyn. God bless you. Thank you. Take care of yourself and enjoy the end of the day. Okay. So I hope that we can try to talk more about how can we navigate and get more opportunities for managing our stress. And I hope next week to talk more and more deeply into this topic if you are interested in. And at the same time, there are a lot of, in this group, a lot of relaxation techniques, a lot of opportunities where you can um, invite yourself to learn and to apply them in a way that align with you. If you feel you need to modify some of these techniques, if you feel you need to really look for something that can help you. So this really group with the team and their attempts to provide some resources that are very helpful and they are very easy. And there are also for today, for the gratitude, there are also some exercises that maybe you will be interested to watch and try to modify them in a way that resonate with you. So thank you so much, everyone, and I really look forward for the next week. I hope you enjoy today the gratitude evening meditation. It talks about the purpose of life with beautiful pictures, and some also there's also another break at 4:30 with a very simple activity that can help you also savor the positive experiences. And please stay strong and enjoy the beauty of the weather outside. Okay, take care.